Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Game Club Pod DLC. I am Joey Fitz, and today we're talking about a game called The Unholy Priest. Now, The Unholy Priest came out at the start of April the 4th, 2025, and is developed and published by Grejuva Games. I would like to thank our friends over at Game.Press and Grejuva Games for giving us a review copy of this game ahead of its launch, so that we could play it and get this DLC out to you. The Unholy Priest is a game that is made up of 4 different games, is what I'd say. So, you have a cemetery and graveyard management system game. You have an exorcism simulator game. You have a battle with zombies game. And you have a morgue management simulator game. When I saw this advertised on the website that we use for our review copies of games, it really struck me as something that was different, didn't take itself too seriously, and would be quite fun for a playthrough. Unfortunately, when I started the game, this wasn't the experience that I got. Now, I will preface everything that I'm saying with the fact that the game is very, very new, and even since I played it a couple of weeks ago, it looks like there's been a number of fixes, optimizations, customization options, and that's just in the last couple of weeks. However, what I found upon booting up the Unholy Priest was a very basic menu, which works absolutely fine. No problems there. A pretty in-depth tutorial that allows you to explore the negotiation of a cremation, the negotiation of a burial, handling an exorcism, managing the trees in your cemetery to build the right casket for what the person burying the person that you're taking in wants to have, and a very short tutorial for the quote-unquote combat in this game. The problem I have with the Unholy Priest is I don't think it knows what it actually wants to be. It has all of these elements within the games, and there's clear inspiration from different games. There's clear inspiration from the Mortuary's Assistant. There's clear inspiration from management simulator games. And I just don't think it does any of them in depth enough to be fun for any length of time. I did laugh out loud when you negotiate the price of a cremation or a burial with the person's loved one, that they just drop the dead body, the cadaver, on the floor next to your desk, and it's your job to drag them very unceremoniously into the morgue, put them into the freezer until you're ready to do what you need to do with them. Now, this can range from taking them in the middle of the night through to a room at the back of your church where you perform a fairly tedious exorcism. The way that the exorcisms work is you put the cadaver on a bed, start the exorcism, and you're met with different trials. Now, these trials could be items in the room are now floating in the air and you have to put them back where they were before. Or there are spirits floating around the room and you have to click them, and that's it. There's no penalty for taking a very long time to do these exorcisms. I found this out when I had no idea where the scroll that was floating above the room was meant to go. The most egregious task that I had to do during one of these exorcisms was recite something in Latin. And you can do this in 2 ways. It's not a couple of words, it's a full page of Latin. If you enable your microphone, you can speak the Latin into the game. But from what I understand, the detection on your microphone is pretty poor, and if you get it wrong, you have to start again. I opted to not incorporate my microphone into the game, so I had to type out an entire page of Latin in order to complete this exorcism. And after doing one, I thought, I'm not even going to bother doing any more. So when you negotiate with the deceased person's loved one, it will tell you what they need, whether they need a cremation, a burial, an exorcism, etc. And I just found myself thinking, I'm not typing out any more Latin, so I'm just going to reject all of the ones that are exorcisms. If you choose to do a cremation, is very easy. You put them in the morgue until the evening, and then you cremate them that evening. However, if you choose to do a burial, you need to prep the grave site. So you chop down wood from the trees in your cemetery, choose which material wood you want the casket to be, dig the gravesite itself to a specification that's set out by the game, put the body inside the casket, lower the casket into the ground, and then bury them again. And then you can choose to decorate the grave with different flowers if the person who has hired you wishes to do so. I think if the game focused on this area, it would be much more fun. It would feel like a far more focused area because I think they've poured the most effort into the management simulator style of this game. The other thing that I found really difficult about the Unholy Priest was the quote-unquote combat sections. Every night there will be the Walking Dead coming to get you, and you need to fight them off using your crucifix. You can hit them with the crucifix, or you can kill them with the crucifix, and there's not a lot in between. But the controls are clunky, they are unresponsive, and that's fine in a management simulator game, but when you're trying to dodge 2 or 3 of these undead, it really isn't very fun. And then you end the day by going to the other side of the church that you perform the exorcisms in and sleeping for the day. Now, every single day, without fail, it gives you the same jump scare. It didn't scare me the first time, and it certainly didn't scare me the 7th or 8th time, but every single day when you wake up, your characters will open their eyes and a dark shadowy figure will appear in front of them and will run off down through the church. I don't really understand the point of this. I don't really get what they were trying to achieve, but it's a choice, and there are some jump scares in this that are okay. There's ones clearly taken from the mortuary's assistant where the drawers in the morgue where the cadavers are will fly open and the cadavers will look at you and smile, and that's really it. Unfortunately, I think the Unholy Priest focuses too much on being a jack of all trades and is ultimately a master of none. It's got good reviews on Steam, but personally from me, I think I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10 and probably avoid until the future when I just think there needs to be more focused content. So keep an eye on the Unholy Priest. Once again, want to thank our friends at Game Press and at Grejuva Games for giving us the review copy. I will be keeping an eye on it because I think with the regular updates, it could turn into something quite good, but right now it's just not for me. Thanks again for listening to DLC, and we'll catch you again very soon.